Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
And welcome back to episode 4 of the Reserve Orange Peerless Sports Podcast. We are hyped. We've been watching sport. We've been hanging out. Kyle, how's it been? Olympic fever. Have you got it yet?
I haven't got it yet, but to be fair, the skateboarding did interest me a little bit this morning.
Yeah,
Haven't really watched a lot of it before, but it was something different, which is the beauty of the Olympics, isn't it?
Exactly. So we'll talk a little bit about skateboarding in the wrap. But first of all, tell me a fact.
So,
Even a rhyme.
my fact last week, nice little rhyme, that. Half rhyme. So the follow-on from last week about Brazil and the orange juice production. So I did promise I was going to find out how much that actually was.
Did your homework?
So I've gone to old Dr. Google, and it says 1.62 million metric tons of orange juice are produced every year. So to calculate how much that is in your head, 1 metric ton equals 1,000 litres. And there's 1.62 million metric tons. That's a lot of juice, baby. Lot of juice.
Providing for the world they are, the Brazilians. That is huge.
That's huge.
Imagine all of that just flooding in a big river of orange juice.
That'd be massive. That'd be like the River Nile, the Amazon River.
Imagine pumping that into the animals.
They'd be some superior animals, wouldn't they, if they had that much orange juice in them.
All right, thanks, Carl. That is really good. I love how you followed up, did your homework. And
I did promise I would.
Yeah, you're making amends for some of your other homework tasks that you probably haven't done in the past in your schooling life.
Yes, yeah. That's why we are where we are today.
All right, let's move to the wrap. Before we get on to the Olympics, let's talk about the big news of the week. Game 6.
Game 6 NBA Finals. The Milwaukee Bucks. I even wore my Greek freak
As a
little
tribute.
hoodie here as a tribute to my man Giannis.
And you predicted this too.
I did. I just want to put it out there. I didn't predict that the Suns would make the finals, but I did predict that the Bucks would get there and that they would win in 6. So I'm going to take that as a win.
I'll pay that.
We'll pay it.
Definitely. And because not just, you didn't pick just Bucks, you picked in 6 too.
I picked in 6.
And they were down 2-0, right?
Yeah, that was a massive turnaround to come back from 2-0. They looked in all sorts as well. And then the Greek freak just took over and came away with the NBA Finals MVP as well. Have you seen the stat line that he put up?
No, tell me.
He averaged, so over the finals, the 6 games, he averaged 35.2 points, 13.2 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.8 blocks. And in that game 6, he scored 50 points.
Yeah, I saw
Shot
that.
17 of 19 from the free throw, which is not very Giannis-like. Giannis is like a 65 to 70% free throw shooter.
Kept getting fouled.
And he got 5 or 6 blocks as well. He would not be denied. He wanted that trophy.
Freak.
He is the definition of freak.
If he can keep doing this, he'd cement his place in probably the top 10 ballers.
All time.
All time. Do you reckon he's top 50 at the moment?
Oh, he's definitely top 50 all time.
All time?
Probably top 25. Some would... the question now is he the best player currently? Has he overtaken LeBron James and Kevin Durant?
Well, you look at
I think so.
What's the rest of... You know more about it than me. What's the rest of the team like? Like, how much is he carrying that Bucks team?
Massively.
The next
best player on that team is Chris Middleton, who is a 2-time All-Star, but largely to do with the fact that he is the co-star to Giannis. But really, if the Bucks don't have Giannis on that, he's a massive Robin. Massive Robin. There's no way that Middleton's Batman.
Like you're the Robin to me.
Yeah, well, that's not what I've been told by listeners. They definitely refer to me as Batman.
No,
and
you're
more as the Alfred.
Oh, that's what I was going to say, you grub.
Not even as a Robin, more of an Alfred.
The butler.
But yeah, like Giannis is he's unreal. If he's not on that team, the Bucks maybe are the 7th or 8th seed in the East at best. And there's no way they're getting through Brooklyn, especially.
No, really good effort from Giannis, and it was good to see kind of a new team in the picture, I guess, with championships.
Yeah, well, it is nice to see. Well, like, Milwaukee haven't won since 1971 with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
That's a long
50
time,
years.
big wait. Phoenix Suns, they've been serial tankers and lottery pick winners, being right down the bottom of the Western Conference for a long time now, and they've snagged the second seed in the West, made the finals, huge turnaround for them. So it's cool, it's exciting, especially since at the beginning of the season everyone said, oh, it's Brooklyn's to lose, with those three snipers of Kevin Durant, James Harden and Kyrie Irving. So that was awesome to just see something that no one expected happen.
Well, with the Phoenix Suns, with their loss, I was listening to a few fans pretty depressingly state kind of the negatives of getting to the final and losing.
Yeah.
How much do you think it affects their next kind of few years, because they get the really low picks in the draft now,
Yeah.
and they're probably going to lose a few of their stars,
Potentially.
and possibly just not going to be able to keep the momentum up.
Yeah.
Not saying they weren't dominant enough to make that final, but no one really picked them to be the ones to be competing with Milwaukee at the end of the season.
Yeah, well, the thing is, they obviously were good enough to have won that. They won the first two games, so it's not like they just got swept and didn't have a chance at all. They were a good enough team to have won the finals.
Yeah.
But the issue now becomes with Chris Paul, CP3, being their main focal point running the offense. He's another year older. He's already, I think, 35, 36. So he gets another year older next year. DeAndre Ayton, their young 22-year-old third-year centre, had a really good playoff run, played out of his skin, but just got absolutely bullied in the finals.
Yeah.
So how does he bounce back from that? Does that really dent his confidence? Does he learn from that? Does he grow? Like, what happens to him? I mean, we all know what we're going to get from Devin Booker. Devin Booker's just some people say he's the second coming of Kobe. That's how good he is at what he does. So that's not the issue. But the issue is how all of the other moving parts around him respond to this setback.
Contribute. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully they can fire again next season.
It'd be good to see him
finals
up there
run
again.
and not just drop off, because it was a massive effort for them and their city.
Oh, huge for Phoenix.
Alright, let's get to the Olympic fever. I've been loving it. It started with the football the day before the opening ceremony
started
on
a few
the
days
Thursday,
before.
with the Matildas getting a good win. Really solid win, and they went down last night. But one of the big stories, we'll do a few stories about the Olympics. I've been loving it. Today we had the laptop open and we're jumping from sport to sport, European handball, watching the tennis, watching the swimming, and watching the skateboarding, of course.
Yeah.
Big story for me for the first round is the Olyroos. 2-0 against, I believe, ranked in the top 3 or top 5 Argentina team. Set for real big favourite for a medal. They've had 2 gold medals previously in the Olympics.
Yeah.
And the young Olyroos team snapped a surprise victory.
Yeah, well, when we got drawn in that group with Argentina and Spain, everyone said, well, what's the point in the Olyroos turning up? They're just going to get dusted and sent home. But 2-0 against Argentina. I know it's not the Argentina team that we're all used to, with the likes of like Messi and Aguero and Di Maria and all those superstars. But they've still got some very good players in there. Like, do they have any players that you're aware of in the team that are like applying their trade professionally on the international stage, like in the? Because I know that there's a few. Yeah, because I know that there's always a few players that bounce back and forth. Like Spain have Pedri.
Well, there was a few. There was a few Argentinian players who played in the Euros. Yeah. So they're playing the top level of football. Let's have a look. But also, like we saw, like in the Germany-Brazilian team game, they have Richarlison. Scored a hat trick as well, and he's a.
Didn't Dani Alves play for Brazil as well or something?
Yeah.
Because they're allowed to have
overage player.
Is it three overage players?
Overage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, there's like
Australia went with one, which is Mitchell Duke, which kind of settles their striker and attack.
Yeah, it just plugs a hole for them more than anything.
Yeah,
Surprising they went with Mitchell Duke though. I mean, he has been in pretty good form
he's
in
been in good
the
form.
closing stages of the A-League, but I'm surprised they didn't maybe put someone like a Jamie McLaren in there.
Yeah,
He has been in that setup
but
previously.
maybe they're gonna leave McLaren. I don't know if it
Maybe
ties
they're
in,
keeping
but
him fresh for
the
other
World Cup
competitions.
qualifiers
Yeah,
as well.
potentially. Yeah, that's a good. Maybe he's, I guess, not to put a slight on the Ollie Roos under 23 level, but he might be a little bit beyond that level of football now in terms of the Australian setup. But still, great win. Great win.
Yeah, very good win.
Puts him in a good position to get through.
The only names I can really identify here is the captain of the Argentinian team, Nehuan Perez, who plays for Atletico Madrid at the back, a bit of a fringe player, but that's kind of the only name I can recognise.
Yeah.
And the keeper Ledesma is their overage player.
Yeah.
In goals, who played pretty well. He saved Riley McGree's bicycle. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that. No.
Absolutely amazing scenes. But Marcus Tilio scoring his second goal, which was a lovely cutback. His second touch on the pitch was beautiful. And we play Spain tonight, so Sunday night 8:30. So it'll be good to watch them.
Game.
What's something you've seen? Maybe something today, maybe something previous.
Well, we did spend a little bit of time today watching, or a lot of time today watching the skateboarding. You're very into the skateboarding. I've not seen a skateboarding competition before, so it was something new for me, something different, and I didn't mind it.
I really wanted to see what skateboarding was like transcending into that kind of competition and sports mode. Like they already do have the X Games and sports in general. Like skateboarding transcending into sports a little bit, but this is like proper sporting competition. And what I liked is they kept it fundamental to what they do in competitions. They didn't try and change it. They didn't try and alter it to throw off the athletes. They let the athletes do their things. I really like the system of having their runs and then the best tricks.
And then the 5 tricks.
Because seeing some of those best tricks was amazing. And you just saw through the prelims up to the final, semi-final, final.
Yeah, and the quality of the finals.
It
just got progressively better.
And
as
the
it went on.
Japanese homeboy, Tokyo local, Yuto, secured the victory, gold medal. And the young 22-year-old American. Jaegers. Got a bronze medal, which was surprisingly, and the second place was a Brazilian. So really good, like probably 4 hours of skateboarding watching there.
Yeah, with a few little stoppages in here and there, but
because the app is trash.
Because the 7+ app.
7+.
Gosh,
if you're
we could do a whole episode about
sort
how
yourself
bad
out,
it is.
mate. Sort yourself. Worse than Optus Sport.
It's absolutely shocking.
Far out. They've got too much going on for a free-to-air.
They can't handle
company.
it.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's another story.
Anyway, tune into the Olympics. Watch whatever sport you can.
It's
I'm not going to say
day.
the commentators are going to help you
No,
understand the sport, because in
kind of
skateboarding they did not, but it's all good.
They just
to watch anyway.
everything. They just went, wow, that's a really technical move.
Yeah, wow, look at that flippy to the flippy.
Wow,
and
he did the
that
flip to the flap, and then his board went wow, and then that was really technical, and he didn't fall over. Nice. That's the standard of the commentary, but still, they're having a crack.
Yeah, make sure you check out the Olympics, obviously once in every 4 years, and it's great to watch, and especially check out our Australians. We just broke the world record this morning.
Yeah, in the women's relay swim team.
Alright, let's move on to the wheel.
The Wheel of Wonder. My favourite segment, since it got named after me, so it has to be my favourite
Wheel
segment.
of Wonder. You spin it.
I'm going to give it a spin. I haven't spun it yet. Let's see what we come up with.
Now we're going to replace the ones we've already used as well.
So there's some fresh questions in there, but we won't be getting one today. We've got number 2.
Number 2.
Josh, open number 2 for me.
Oh, we lost the tile. We lost the tile.
Good heavens.
We lost a few tiles.
Alright, number 2. Open her up. Let's see what's inside.
You're right, Talbot. Okay. This is very general.
Okay.
Very open.
It looks like a small one, but it could still be spicy. Let's
What
see.
is the world's best sports league?
Ooh, okay.
Many avenues you can go
A lot
through
of,
here.
yeah.
Many categories you can base this on and judge it by.
This is huge. Yeah, there's a lot that you can go by. You can go for like what it's standing in the global marketplace is, how exciting it is, the teams that are in there, the players that are in there.
How important it is nationally.
Yeah, the significance of it in its nation.
I have one straight up.
Okay, you fire away.
As football, soccer is the world game.
Yeah.
Right. The biggest league in the world, the most eyes, probably some of the most money, some of the most biggest stars, probably the biggest stars consistently across teams, and probably really kind of unpredictable enough to be entertaining consistently is the EPL.
Yeah, massive.
English Premier League, kind of the home of football. You get so many international players involved, so you transcend into that global market. There's probably an EPL player from your country,
from the majority of clubs somewhere.
Exactly. And with the relegation and
promotion and championship levels and the FA Cup tied into it as well.
Just promotes entertainment. So I think that is big. It's also so massive, like nationally, like internally in England, and they have like every club from probably the top level to Div 4, Div 5 is so just passionately followed. So when you see these teams that you might not have heard of come up from the championship, they've already got massive
tens
crowds.
of thousands of fans that just follow them.
And that just promotes them on a global scale too.
Yeah.
Like some of the EPL teams are the biggest teams in the world in terms of marketing.
Yeah, teams like Manchester United, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, they're brands as much as they are football teams. They're that big.
So I think that would be my pick. A lot of money there. Maybe not as much, well, definitely in Australia, not as much easy access to it as some other leagues.
It used to be a lot easier to access, but now that it's become like a subscription-only sport, it's a bit more difficult.
Yeah, but I don't think anything has overtaken it. That's
the thing is as well, like on a global spectrum, as a football fan, basically everyone has a team in the English Premier League that they follow.
Exactly.
Like, I know that I follow Chelsea, you follow Arsenal. Would you really say that you follow a team in La Liga or the French Ligue 1?
No.
Bundesliga?
No, you have teams that you like.
Yeah, you have teams that you're interested in them, but you wouldn't necessarily say you follow them.
You wouldn't get up on a 2 or 3 a.m. for the Bundesliga, but you would for the EPL.
No, exactly right. See, like, I follow AC Milan, so I follow the Serie A, but that's more because of, like...
You're Italian.
Yeah, I'm of Italian...
I follow Sydney FC.
Heritage and...
I'm Australian.
Yeah, because you're Australian. I don't follow this... I hate the A-League, honestly. The A-League is definitely not the best sporting league in the world. It's definitely not the best sporting league in Australia, but...
I guess something else you can contribute to the EPL argument is that they travel with their teams around to do like exhibitions as well in countries. Yeah. And they bring...
Well, that just goes to show how big it is. The fact that they can turn up with a second string team in Australia and still have a full stadium 80,000 to watch a friendly game.
I went to an Arsenal one.
Yeah. Well, I've been to a couple.
What did we go see?
We went to see Roma against Real Madrid.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and then I also went to see Tottenham against Juventus the year after. Yeah, so I've seen guys like Ronaldo and Totti and Luka Modric and
Bale?
Gareth Bale was playing in that Real Madrid game. But still, just the fact that you can say I've seen a Premier League side, even though it is Tottenham.
Well, I saw my beloved Arsenal play. It was just surreal seeing that kit, no matter who was in it.
So that'd be the first thing I would want to do if I was ever in England, get to a Chelsea game.
Oh, definitely. I've been to a few, been to a Man City game, an Everton game. It's crazy.
But then, to your point, though, of Premier League being your best league, I would agree for the most part. The other one I would throw in there is the NBA, particularly in terms of its global spread and its cultural significance, and like the NBA has gotten itself to a point where it's not even necessary. It doesn't necessarily have to be followed as a sport. It's just a brand. It's like a streetwear. People wear NBA clothes and jerseys. Never watched a game before. It's just like it has a cultural standing as well. It's just become that big in the sporting world that it's now gone into the mainstream society, and it's just part of day-to-day life and culture. Like, people just know, like, the Chicago Bulls and the Golden State Warriors and all these, like, Steph Curry.
Look at media as well, talk about it. Something big at the moment is the Space Jam movie.
Yeah, exactly. The fact that it has those kind of movies as well.
Definitely bigger than football.
Yeah.
Even though Goal is a great movie.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's not
cult classic.
It's definitely not Space Jam, but, I mean, Santiago Muñez, he's some sort of player, isn't he? Newcastle United could definitely use someone of his talents, the way they're going.
Yeah, I think the NBA is pretty close. You'd make a really good argument for both.
Yeah.
I think one example...
They're a little bit different, the way that they bleed into society.
Well, I think an example is my brother told me about a Japanese player, not Rui, another Japanese player who...
In the NBA.
Yeah, who's not the greatest skill player, but because he's Japanese, he's followed so much, and he's kind of just like a cult hero.
Yeah,
and he's got a brand,
like in Japan.
Yeah, and all around the world, he's just beloved, and he's not even in the top 50 players in the NBA.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
He's just extended his brand through NBA. So there's just like a huge following of it for people who aren't even the top of their game to succeed.
Yeah, well, that's much like Australia as well. I mean, we had Paddy Mills as a flag bearer for the Olympics the other day.
But he's been on
fire. A humble Canberra Mars boy as well. One of your old stomping ground.
The blue and blue, baby.
The blue on blue. Shocking colour scheme, if you ask me. I mean, there's all these colours and you've just picked 2 shades of blue. But I won't hold that against old Paddy because that man can ball.
Yeah.
But it's like the fact that an NBA basketball player is carrying the flag for Australia at the Olympic Games, something that's, well, for the Australian teams anyway, is generally dominated by like the swim teams. Because that's where we have most of our success. I guess that goes to show as well where basketball stands in modern society.
And watch out for our Boomers, they're coming.
Yeah, they've had a really good run in. They beat America, they beat USA, they beat Nigeria as well.
And they beat Argentina.
Yeah.
So
they're ranked number 1 in the world currently.
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah, USA slid down to number 2 because of those couple of losses.
They got beat by Nigeria.
And Australia's gone up to number 1 in the world.
Watch out for America, though. They've had 2 dominant performances.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where America's ranked. That means nothing.
They'll get the finals players back as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's a few. Play. Yeah, I think Devin Booker, Chris Middleton, and Drew Holiday are all joining the side.
Drew?
So Drew Holiday. He's that dude.
All right, well... I think we've got 2 big leagues. We'd like to hear your thoughts on it, but they're pretty close, bit different, but yeah.
Different, but similar in terms of the scale.
Most of the rest of the leagues.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's move to the
bigger picture.
All right, so it's my turn this week. So I'd like you to sit back, relax, let me paint the picture for you, okay?
Paint it for me.
So I had one, and then I found out that someone had submitted a very similar question. So I thought...
So we're going to leave the glory for them.
Rather than shut down one of our faithful listeners, I'll just go into my bag and get another one.
Utilise that utility.
Yeah.
Utilise that Mary Poppins magical bag you were talking about last week. Pull another question out of your bag.
Alright, so if there was one professional sport that you can be involved in, training, routine, physio, everything they do, you follow a team or an athlete and you get to do all that, you get to play anything, what sport would it be? So you get to be involved in it for a week.
Okay.
Everything professional, whether it be a specific team or a sport, elaborate how you want to.
So I'm an athlete for this said team or
for a
sport.
Week.
Okay.
You get to go to training, you get to go to meetings, you get to do media. What one do you want to be involved in?
That's huge. I would love to be. Does it need to be like a sporting league season, or can it be any kind of competition?
Any competition.
Any competition.
Just a 1 week. You get to pick 1 week.
I would love to spend a week with a football team at a World Cup. Like just through the group stage. Just that whole team environment, everyone's in and around each other. You're having fun on your off days. You're having your physio, your recoveries. You turn up for the games. It's just you'd be so immersed in it all. I think that'd be unreal. Like a World Cup, even a Euros, something like that. But yeah, definitely one of those like camp type settings where you're like away from everything. You're not just going home after training. You're going back with the team. You're in your hotel. All the boys are just there. They're just hanging out. They're just vibing, playing some ping pong, doing some things that you do on footy camp. We all know exactly what those things are. Just absolute random nonsense that you would never do anywhere else except football camp.
Putting rocks in your coach's bag.
Putting
like
rocks in
your
yeah. How good was that? By the way,
great.
That was unreal.
No, that'd be amazing.
I think something like that would be awesome. Definitely.
I've got two, and I'll pick mine, and then I'll give a recommendation of another one that I thought of. But mine would be I'd love to travel with the Australian cricket team. I reckon there's just so many like great personalities, characters. I'd love to have a fielding session with Marnus.
I was going to say, you've got a Marnus Labuschagne phone case there. I thought you were going to mention Marnus.
He's just a character, and he just loves his cricket. He loves playing. And like, I wouldn't want to face the quicks, but I'd love to do field sessions. Yeah. Love to dive around the ground with them. I'd love to see their philosophy. I really like Justin Leonard as the coach. Yeah. And like even seeing Steve Smith and his weird meticulous ways of preparing for batting, and just seeing how everyone prepares. They seem like a pretty together team now, being through like a lot of hardship and controversy. Yeah. So I'd really love to just stick around, and maybe even like a local tour where we go to Brisbane, or even like going to somewhere like England or India in enemy territory.
Yeah, so more kind of like a T20 where you're like bouncing around to a few different places in a couple of days, rather than a test match where you're parked in one
even
spot.
Like in India, where the Australian cricket team is so popular as well, even though they love their Indian cricketers, they do love their Aussies as well.
They just love cricket in general. Cricket.
So yeah, I think that would be my choice. The other one I thought, just to see how hard I can push myself and how hard they train, is to go into a boxing gym.
I was thinking that as well. Yeah. That's like a whole nother
train with Floyd
way that they work, the boxers and fighters in general.
Just to see what strength and conditioning they do, their sparring, like how the gym works, the gym mentality, to see all the athletes, all the fighters there. Yeah, just check that out, because I think boxing training would be super intense. Yeah, I wouldn't last very long in there, but
would you be a sparring partner? Would that be your role in the boxing camp?
You can just hang me up on that bag, and I can be
you can just be the speed. Just hang you upside down and use your head as the speedball.
Yeah, so I think that's.
Who would you go with if you were to go to like a boxing camp? What fighter would you want to go with?
I tell you who I've been seeing bounce around camps, helping a lot of people out, is Canelo.
Canelo's a freak.
Yeah, and
I love Canelo.
I mean, I don't know about the language barrier, but I think just he's not known for being like really egotistical.
No,
and,
he's
like,
just
all
a true
about himself
boxer
and all about money. Like Floyd is a bit like not.
Yeah, well, his nickname is Money. Floyd Money Mayweather.
But Canelo is at the top of his game.
Yeah.
And he's done it all. He's done most things in the game.
Yeah, he's got 3
and he just
out of
seems
4
really
belts.
humble, and he's a teacher as well. So I'd love to like.
He's like a true student of the game.
Yeah, exactly. Either that, or just go to a real humbling place and go with Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Because I think he'd just be full of joy, and he wouldn't give you crap for not being able to do anything.
Yeah, he'd really help
motivate you the whole time. So.
What about a week with Tyson Fury?
Oh, mate, he's a weirdo.
That'd be a weird week, wouldn't it? You would see some shit that you would never see anywhere else in the world. Yeah, he's a weird dude.
It'd be funny. I think I'd just be intimidated by his pure size.
Yeah.
And then knowing that he could punch me, he could knock me out with a flick.
And not only that, but have you seen his little... It's like an infamous quote, like story that comes up every time he fights about how many times he provides self-pleasure to himself.
It's like 12 times.
13 times a day. You'd just be constantly...
No, that's cardio.
He'd just be constantly like, alright, time to go again. You'd be like, bruh, it's only 10 o'clock. This is the 4th time.
He's got to fit it into with his
How
lunch
do you do
times,
that?
his snack times. He has a wife too, doesn't he?
Yeah, pre and post breakfast, pre and post morning tea, pre-post lunch. couple of extra just for a little bit of
He's got like
something
a little
special
schedule on the whiteboard. It just does a tick every time.
But that's what I mean. He's just a weird bloke.
A
He's just
weird
so
guy.
different. It'd be
Gypsy King.
the Gypsy King. Yeah, he's just so different. It'd be really interesting to be in camp with him for a week.
Very keen for that fight too. That is going.
Yeah,
to
against
be
Deontay,
nuts.
the Bronze Bomber. I think. I think Fury will get him again.
I know.
But
So many excuses coming out of that camp. from
Deontay Wilder's he's gonna be ready to go. If he's not, then he can really have to take a step back and look at himself.
Yeah.
After the draw in the first fight and then losing in the second fight pretty convincingly, all this talk that he's doing, he's got to put something together.
I watched a video the other day of how Tyson Fury was a zombie and just got up.
Yeah, in
Far
like the
out.
sixth
That's
round, he's just
incredible.
asleep. He's asleep till like the
Yeah,
sixth
and
count,
he
and then
goes,
just goes
"Mhm."
bang.
And then the ref
And
was
he's
talking
back.
about it, and the ref was just like, "I've never seen anything like it."
It was crazy, and then he won the fight from there too. Like he went on to basically win
Won that
win
second
the
half.
fight in terms of getting the draw, but
Yeah.
like he was gone.
Yeah, that'll be big.
There
I think
you
it was
go.
postponed a few months.
Yeah,
give
well,
people
because
time. Maybe COVID.
Fury was going to fight Anthony Joshua. They'd had it pretty much signed off, but then someone brought up the clause in the
Yeah.
Deontay Wilder contract that they had the right for a rematch for like part 3 bout, so they have to do that one first before we can get the Tyson Fury versus AJ that a
Keen
lot
for
of
that.
people have been waiting for.
We'll talk about that when it comes,
Yeah,
but I'm keen
definitely.
for that. I don't really rate Anthony Joshua, to be honest.
He's more of an athlete than a boxer.
Yeah, I want to see him
is
get
what it seems
absolutely
like.
knocked out.
Yeah.
Big fan of Andy Ruiz. So.
Still like him, still like his work ethic, but I think he's more just an athlete than a true boxer like Tyson.
No, definitely. All right, let's move to the reserve orange peeler of the week. So,
Firstly, you have an apology
yes,
for
I have an
everybody.
apology. I've had a busy week, changing jobs, doing a lot of things. Personally, had my Mrs. 21st, so I had to treat her right.
Lots of rum involved as
'Cause
well.
Because she's a queen.
She's
you
a
all know
queen.
that.
Who doesn't know the difference between Michael Jordan and Michael B.
No,
Jordan?
but she's still a queen.
But we won't mention that anymore.
So I didn't do the peeler vote, but we're gonna put that up on. So
It will happen.
It will happen before this episode comes out, and then to make up for it, the next peelers will be out in 1 or 2 days of this release of the podcast.
Yeah, on the usual day.
So it's basically going to be a 4-point
Potential.
decision.
Well, the first one will still count as the triple point, will it not?
Yeah,
And then
so-
if that somehow goes to a draw, then it'll carry over to 4 points.
But in general, we'll be
But there's
finding
4
out
points
4
on
points
offer in a
at
space
offer.
of 1 week, so this is huge.
Exactly.
Massive.
So, give it to me. They're getting double content.
Would you like me to start for my orange peeler this week?
Yes.
Okay, so, at the Reserve Orange Peelers, we like all sports, including the sport of love.
Well, some of us are good at it.
This is some. That's a very personal attack. Gosh, I was not expecting this kind of rudeness and. But anyway, the sport of love.
Mm-hmm.
So we've had a fan proposal.
Oh no.
Yeah, you all know how I hate fan
So
proposals.
embarrassing.
They should just ban them from sport because they're just
And kiss cam.
embarrassing.
Get kiss
There's
cam
too
out.
much pressure for everyone involved, and then when it goes wrong, it goes
no.
horribly wrong, and this is where you end up as my orange peeler of the week. So, the
lowest of lows.
Worcester Red Sox from the minor league baseball in America, like the second division
I
baseball.
thought you were going to say Little League.
No,
The
the
second
little
half.
league. Yeah, it's a bunch of 12-year-olds. He's tried to put the little like lollipop ring on his missus. Yeah. Anyway, you're distracting me.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, so an absolutely brutal rejection. It's a packed house. He's got up the front, full kit, him and his partner, the man and his partner. And he's got down on the knee and he's gone, here we go. It's in front of everyone, public proposal. She's not going to say no. He gets down on the knee and she flat out just goes, no, can't do it. And then just walks off, leaves him hanging. He's there on the knee in front of everyone going, wait, come back, runs off after her. All the mates run with him. It's just an absolute
I wonder if it was a
Mess.
setup or do you reckon
Absolute
it's
mess.
actually...
No,
real?
there was someone said that it might have been a setup, but nothing's been confirmed. I'll show it to you. It's pretty.
Put it up on the screen.
It's pretty
we've been
good.
doing.
Here you go. Here it is. And they've even labelled it the ultimate strikeout as the little video caption. So yeah, look, he gets down on his knee, pops the question. She does a little hands over the face gasp. Oh my God, I'm so shocked. Do you think she said yes? And then it turns out it's a no. She storms off into the crowd. He's there looking like an idiot. But
Mate, your heart would absolutely just
well, yeah,
drop.
where do you go from there? Does that, if you propose and she says no, surely that means that they're now broken up. So he's gone the all or nothing play and he's come up with a duck egg.
Oh no. Oh, I hate watching that.
I love it. I hate it. I hate that they do it, but I love watching it.
Oh, poor bloke, he's gone through all this effort. I hope there's a rainbow, a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow.
Yeah, there might have been some other sweet honey in the crowd that said, you know what, you're not a bad sort. Just chuck me the ring, we'll make this work.
Yeah, or
You
maybe
never
she's
know.
just too embarrassed, but she said yes after, or...
But why would you say no?
I
And
don't
then
know,
say
Kyle,
yes?
I'm trying to make it positive, alright?
Okay,
I feel bad
I guess women, but
You can't say that. Yeah,
Okay, so
we
what-
have 0% of female listeners.
Who is-
You're going to get blasted.
well, sorry, Josh. We're all about truth and honesty here, and sometimes that's just the way it is. We're the same, men are the same, but sometimes shit happens. Who's your orange peel
You're
this
digging
week?
yourself a bigger hole.
digging a
I'm
big
gonna
hole.
save
I've gotta
you.
throw this
I'm gonna
shovel
save
away.
you. Alright, so mine is mixed with a moment of brilliance from someone who makes the other guy look like a complete fool. So something
Similar to last week.
Yeah, something I've been kind of interested in lately is because I've been watching it a bit at the Olympics, or I've been watching the softball.
It's not cricket again, is it?
No, it's baseball.
Okay.
Right? I'm not sure
yeah.
what league of baseball it is, but it's kind of semi-professional enough to be on TV.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And they've done the guy's done the old hidden ball trick. Why?
The catcher or the pitcher?
No, someone, I believe it's on third base.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're like throwing the ball around and the play has kind of stopped. And the guy on third base who's about to run home after this pitch probably has been faked out by seeing the guy throw it back to his pitcher, but he really hasn't.
Oh, so he's
kept it in
he's
his
thrown
glove.
the dummy.
He's gone to walk off his base a little
And then-
bit, and the guy's touched him, and he's out. So have a look at this.
That'd hurt you
Oh,
as
wait, you're
well.
going to have to watch it. Like
That would hurt. Let's have a look. Oh, he's made him look a right mug. Look at the coach. The coach is up and about. Got him, yes, his fist, he's punching the air. I taught him that trick. He loves it. That's unreal.
He just sprints over and
Good
he's like,
play.
I've got the ball, I've got the ball, I've
I
got the
love
ball.
that. But that's
Yeah.
what I don't understand in baseball. Like in baseball, you know, if you're not on the plate, you're at risk of getting out. So why do they just dawdle around?
Yeah,
Just
I don't know.
just keep your foot on the plate. Like there's nothing happening. Just stand on the plate.
I wonder how long you can have to do that. Like, because obviously, like,
Well, I think
You
that the
can't-
ball's always live.
yeah.
The ball's always
I know
live. Like,
about
because
that.
you see every now and then, like, the pitcher will throw it to, like, the third baseman
Yeah.
when someone's trying to sneak a single.
Yeah, and they can sneak
So the
it
ball's,
and-
I think the ball is always live,
Very
which is more
tactical.
to the reason of until you can physically see the ball in the air, like being pitched or being hit or whatever, just stay on the plate.
I know.
Don't end up on the reserve orange peel of the week.
The lowest of lows. Alright, so I'll put both of them up and you'll be able to vote.
Very contrasting. It'll be interesting
Mm.
to see how it goes.
Yes.
Very different avenues of approach.
Well, I like it.
Yeah.
Diversity.
It's good. Yeah, we're all about diversity.
Alright, without any explanation of the name, we're going to go straight to the ball bag.
The ball bag. We don't need to explain it because it makes Josh giggle too much, and he's
Yes.
a child, and he's already giggling just thinking about it.
Yeah, because you make me giggle.
All right. So how do you want me to ease you into it, or do you want to go straight for? There's an absolutely loaded question in here.
Let's go loaded.
Do you want to
I'm
load
ready.
it up?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
Load it up.
Let's go for the big one.
Alright.
Comes from Adam. He says, "Do you think it's fair for transgender people to be competing in the Olympics?
Okay.
Now, before you answer, do you want me to give you a run through of the current guidelines as to how it all works?
Is this specific to a sport?
It's specific to the Olympics.
Oh, sorry, Olympics.
Competing in the Olympics. So this centers around the New Zealand weightlifter Laurel Hubbard, who is a trans from a male to a female, who's going to compete in the female weightlifting, being the first transgender person to compete at the Olympics. So I'll give you a quick run through of what the IOC conditions are for trans competition.
Yep.
So in 2003, they created 3 conditions. 1, the athletes must have undergone sex reassignment surgery, including changes in the external genitalia and gonadectomy, which is removal of the gonads. Okay, this is word for word. This isn't paraphrasing. This is exactly what it says. Number 2, must show legal recognition of their gender. So you have to be legally have changed gender. And number 3, must have undergone hormone therapy for an appropriate time before participation, with 2 years being the suggested time. So then, to extend on that, in 2015, the guidelines were adjusted to account for countries where the procedures were illegal. So like some countries, you're not allowed to have these surgeries. So to account for that, they did add some extras in. So they've added women athletes must declare their gender and not change that for 4 years, which is one whole Olympic cycle.
Yep.
Must demonstrate testosterone levels less than 10 nanomoles per litre of blood for at least 1 whole year prior. And athletes transitioning from female to male competition were without restriction. So there was no restriction of a female moving into the male, because theoretically they're already at somewhat of a disadvantage having to try and go up physically.
Yeah.
So back to the question, do you think it's fair for transgender people to be competing in the Olympics?
Yes, I think it's fair. I think it's been a growing, I wouldn't say issue, I think we would say situation.
It's something that has to be dealt with.
And it's
because
something that
it's in the world, it's part of the world.
I feel like it's going to become more and more and more relevant. And I think that we can't miss out on having the best athletes compete.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I'd say probably 99%, and I'd hope this is the case, that these transitions are happening for non-sporting reasons.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then I don't see any problem with it. And I know that's hard to define, find out, but it has to be like a personal decision, an ethical decision, whatever it is. It cannot be to gain
an advantage
physically or in a sporting sense.
So it couldn't be someone like you or me saying, you know what, I can't make it in the men's sport, so I'm going to just switch to female, go through all the procedures, and just try and dominate female sport.
And that's going to be...
That's unethical.
There's a grey area where you figure that out.
You can't 100% prove that.
No, but I feel like that is something that has to be part of the discussion and kind of part of the process of deciding whether or not they'll be included. Everything else you have said, I completely agree with the guidelines of that.
Yeah.
I know it could get tricky for some individual situations, but other than that, I honestly do not see a problem with it.
Yeah.
I want the best athletes with the best talent competing in the best competitions. And for many of these sports, that is the Olympics. And I believe keeping them out of it and not letting them compete is discrimination and it's wrong.
Yeah.
So I encourage it, and I hope to see it be less of a controversial topic in the future and just become a normality.
It's definitely a touchy one because it is still relatively new, and there's a lot of education and understanding that needs to be put in place. Yeah, it needs to be put in place so that people are aware of why and how these things happen, because there are a lot of misunderstandings. Like one thing that I've heard a lot with this discussion is, even though a male can transition to a female and meet all of these criteria, they're still a man. They still have a male physical build in terms of things like hips and shoulders, and like men and women are anatomically built a little bit different.
No, I agree.
Men are anatomically built to be
That's
a little bit more powerful, more explosive, have that raw strength and muscle mass because of the testosterone produced in the body and etc. So that's like a little, that's one of those grey areas that you talk about. Like, as much as you can transition from a man to a woman and still meet all of those guidelines, do those factors have a role, or do they become nullified? That's something that is always going to be up for up for debate and discussion. And
so, what do you think of having these guidelines? Do you think it is better off for these athletes to be competing in sports that are not based on a general physical attribute?
So in sports that are more skill based.
So say like weightlifting is probably the most obvious example.
Weightlifting is the clear one.
Strength,
just raw power and strength,
is the main
is what wins the thing. Is the event.
Sprinting is physical leg power and running speed.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I agree with this, but do you think that brings an unfair element to competition with people who have transitioned?
It could be seen that way, definitely. Because, you are born as male or female, your body, unless you happen to go through this kind of transition at a young age, before your body develops. Like, if we're talking strictly in the scenario that these are fully grown adults making this decision to change.
And it's getting younger and younger.
It's getting younger and younger, but for the sake of this discussion, we're going to assume that these are all adults making this change. So you're fully developed as either a male or a female. So you have those genetic, physical characteristics about you already. Like, if I, as my current stature, was to go through these procedures and transition into a female, I would still have the same physical build that I have right now. Yes, I might lose like a little bit of muscle mass or whatever, but I would still be built the same way, which some people would see as being an unfair advantage over female competition. Some people wouldn't. It's all, the hard thing is that everyone sees it in a different way. They all want a different aspect to be like the most enforced one. But I think that what they've got for the amount of science that we have available, the amount of like research that's been done, there's not really a lot more that they can do. So
I agree.
You can't discriminate against them and say, if you're trans, you have to compete in like a trans competition, because that's just
for the seclusion.
That's basically like apartheid stuff. That's full on segregation, discrimination. You know what I mean? That's just taking a group of people and putting them in a separate category because of their differences. Like, you can't do that. So you have to compete in either male or female. And if you can meet these guidelines, well then, that's just how it is. So be it. People are just going to have to learn to accept that, because that's the way that the world is moving, and sport has to adapt.
No, 100%. With the weightlifter in general, do you know how long ago they transitioned?
I think it was a while ago. It has to be more than 4 years for her to be competing. I think it's something like 6 or 7, possibly. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't looked a whole lot into her story, which is why I've chosen not to comment too much on her, specifically.
She transitioned in 2013. And then returned to... She had 4 years off international weightlifting and returned to lifting in 2017.
Yeah, so that
So she
4
hasn't
years
even
off. So that
spent
4
4
years off
years.
would have been this period, I would imagine. Most likely.
Oh, and there's a picture of she had an elbow injury that nearly finished her career. Oh, I don't like looking
You don't,
at that.
yeah, you hate. Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
You're squirming.
Yeah, poor lady. Well, I hope she does well, and I hope it just
It helps to
opens up.
helps to just show
people's minds.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be good to have her compete just to show, like, this is the new normal.
And
Like,
I hope
people have every right to do stuff like this and be able to compete. Like, be able to be a transgender, male or female, and still compete.
I
in
hope
that
New
sport.
Zealand get behind her too.
Yeah.
All right.
definitely.
Thank
All
you, Adam, for the big question there.
Big one.
And I hope we answered
That
it.
was good. Yeah.
All
So
right.
let's lighten it up with a little bit of an easier one. This one comes in
Is it a dig at me?
from Steve. No, it's actually directed at me.
Okay.
But you can answer it too, nice and short. It says, "Why are the Tigers so bad? My poor old West Tigers taking another loss last night to Manly.
Easy.
Where do they?
I tell you why.
Why?
Because they don't have a main playmaker who's a leader,
Yep.
and they have terrible recruitment history.
Yep.
That's
Agreed.
about it, to be honest.
Agreed.
I think mentality's there. I mean, I think it's really hard to get yourself up every single game, but
Yeah.
ultimately it's coming down to the skill level and the leadership, and not executing attacking situations well. But also, something that's been really disappointing this year is their discipline in defense.
Yeah, definitely. That's massive. Because I think that they have the skill set and the attacking prowess with the ball. Like, they have those phases for 10, 15 minutes where they look like they can go toe-to-toe with anyone. But then they also have those same 10, 15 minute patches in defence where they let in 3 easy tries and the game's done and you're chasing your tail.
A lot of the time after they've scored points as well.
Yeah,
And just
that's
like
the disappointing
drop
thing.
off period. Yeah,
That's
I think this is a lot of
Yeah.
consistency of a lot of teams outside top 8.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
it's not just the Tigers, but I think
But
some
it's
results
very
have
emphasised
on the
because they
Tigers.
have lots of potential.
Well, and now there's a big documentary out, so there's just more eyes on the Tigers day after day.
We'll find out through that. We'll get a bit more understanding.
Yeah,
of
it's
what
probably
goes
an
on.
answer, like just a solid answer. This is why we're so bad.
You've either got to be
one player thrown under
You've
the
either
bus.
got to be a really good side or a really bad side to have a documentary made about you. And unfortunately, we're a bad one.
Okay, here's a little side question.
Okay.
Not that one player is to blame, but which player do you think needs to take the most responsibility for the Tigers' losses this year, as a general?
As an individual player.
Yeah.
Well,
I know who I'm thinking.
I mean, it gets said all the time. It's Luke Brooks.
100%.
Adam Dewey has been playing out of his skin in the 6. He can't help Luke Brooks anymore. Dane Laurie's had a fantastic season at fullback. He can't help out anymore.
No.
Jake Little's been playing really well out of hooker. So the only hole there in the spine in terms of performance is Luke Brooks.
Exactly.
But maybe it's just as simple as we're a bunch of nice guys and we like seeing other people succeed. So we just let other teams win.
That's a great mentality.
Maybe,
to
you
have
never
in
know.
the
Maybe
NRL.
that's what it is. It could be as simple as they're just too nice and they like seeing other people have all the fun. They're too selfless.
Yeah, that's a great mentality that Craig Bellamy installs into the Melbourne Storm, and that's how they win all their grand finals.
Alright, let me go to our next question. Comes in from Jordan. This is the one that was similar to your initial question you were thinking about. It says, if you could change one sports person's story, who would it be and why?
Okay, so a story.
So like a sports person's career, like their story, who they are. So I've got mine because I saw the questions. I went, yep, I know who I'm going to put down. Do you want to have a think and I'll go? Or you got one?
I've got one.
Okay.
So I'll say, but there's probably more I can think of where.
Just spit one. What's the first one that comes to you?
The first one I can think of is Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
in the cycling.
How great he would have been if he wasn't.
Marred by controversy for the illegal substance abuse.
Yeah.
He was I don't know too much about it in the sense like if he started doing it halfway or he'd done it all his career. But
it was pretty much all his career. Have you seen the documentary that was on ESPN?
I saw a bit of it, but
it's a really good watch. You should watch it.
I just think he could have been great anyway.
Yeah.
But
in that he does explain, and all of the other cyclists own up to it. He said if you were in the top 20 riders, you were on some sort of doping program or some sort of performance enhancing substance.
Yeah.
Like that's what cycling was.
Yeah, I just think.
So if he didn't do it, would he even have got that recognition to start with? Is the other side of the coin.
That's true. All right, you tell me yours, and because I've got another one.
Yeah, that's a big one. Mine's a little bit more left field, not really like as big of a name, but I've gone with Mario Balotelli. He like that magical moment with Sergio Aguero.
Weird player.
That was that assist for Sergio Aguero to score the goal to win Man City their first title.
Aguero.
That exact moment that's in our introductory song. But that was Mario Balotelli's only assist for the entire season.
Because he's selfish.
But the 2012 Euros puts on absolute clinic against the Germans to fire Italy into the final.
What would you
to
change
lose to
about
Spain? Just his attitude.
Yeah.
Every single coach that he played for, like he played for Jose Mourinho at Inter, and he said he's coached all of the best players. He's coached Drogba, he's coached Ibrahimovic, all these guys. He said Mario Balotelli is the most gifted striker that he's ever had, but he could just never get his head in it. Like could never get his head screwed on enough to maximise that, because you'd see those glimpses. He'd turn up some games and he was unplayable. Like he could have easily, if he stayed on the trajectory that he was supposed to be on, he could have been like a top 3 striker in the world right now. Like he was that good.
Yeah.
But he was just an idiot. Like he let himself down more than anything. Like have you seen some of the crazy stories of the things he used to? He used to have like fireworks going off in his house, and he was turning up to training hungover and getting fines for all kinds of things. Like there was a story that he got pulled over by a police officer, and that police said like, "Oh, why do you have £10,000 sitting in your car?" And he just said, "Because I can." Like he got way too caught up in that. Like that egotistical side of I'm a superstar, I'm a footballer, I make all this money, that he just didn't care about trying to actually fulfill his potential.
Yeah.
And like, to be fair, there is probably a little bit of bias because he did play for my team AC Milan. He did play for Italy nationally as well. Like, so there's a little bit of bias in there, but I just would have loved to see how good he actually could have been, because I love watching Mario Balotelli play. I've got his book and stuff at home. Like, I loved him. He was a great character, great player.
Playing, you know.
He still plays, but he plays in like the
Turkish
Serie.
league.
He was in the Serie B, like second division.
He's playing in the Turkish league.
This is a guy that when he started, everyone said, "Mate, he could be the best." He's that good.
Could be linking up with David Luiz.
And now he's nothing.
Yeah.
So who's your other one before we get on to our last question?
2 I was thinking of was more of a personal thought. Is like, I know why he did it, but I would have loved McGregor to stay in the UFC and become like a champion who just beat the next contender and really dominate the featherweight division and have all these great lightweight fights and not fight Mayweather. Like, I get it, he made the most money probably ever for a sports.
But you think that tarnished his...
So many people watched it, but as a UFC pure fan, in the sense of like how talented and hungry he was for every single win on his come up, I wish he stayed in the game. And I wish he stayed.
That was like the distraction that kind of just set him off. And
good on him. He broke so many records. He did the best. He's set up his life, no matter what happens.
Well, that's the other side, isn't it? It's a business.
Yeah, he's
got to set his family up.
And the other one I thought of is the sandpaper Steve
Yeah,
Smith.
okay, yeah. If they
Especially
never
for
had
Steve
done
Smith's
that.
career.
Yeah, definitely. For Steve Smith, personally,
Yeah.
more than anyone. And Dave Warner and
I guess it
Cam
hasn't.
Bancroft.
Like, it has affected him, but it hasn't ruined his career in a sense.
It just stalled his career
Big
significantly.
time.
It put him back 2 or 3 years because he was out for the year. Then he had to build his way back in, earn back the trust, get his form back, all that kind of stuff. Where he could have been at the top of his game for those 3-4 years and been down as one of the GOATs of cricket.
And the other one that my brother mentioned when I told him about the similar question was about Fletch not throwing the hand grenade in the Origin series that led to the 11-year or 10-year dominance of Queensland.
Yeah.
Just a little funny one there.
Yeah, another one I would say as well, Derek Rose. Blowing out his ACL in the finals, playing for the Chicago Bulls, youngest ever MVP in the NBA. The Chicago Bulls were on the up. He was possibly the best player in the world next to LeBron James at that point in time. So young, so talented. And we still see glimpses of it here and there. He's got all the talent in the world, but he's just never been able to recover from it. He could have been a world beater, Derek Rose, but we'll just never know.
Yeah,
and it's sad.
That is sad. That's a sad one.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's wrap it up with our last question. You're not going to like this one because it's an attack on your Olympics. It's from Jack. It says, do people actually care about the Olympics?
Which Jack is this?
I'm not sure. It's not Jack Lee. It's a different Jack.
Oh, okay. Do people actually care about the Olympics?
So,
of course they do.
For a perspective, Australia just won the bid for the 2032 Olympics. What was your first reaction when you heard that?
Man, I was gassed.
Loved it.
Gassed. I love it. I love live sport. I love the Olympics, and I get to go see it in Brisbane when I'm 35 or whatever.
When you're we're going to be 35.
I think
you have to take the kids with you.
For a nation like Australia, I think Sydney Olympics did nothing but good for us.
Yeah.
In terms of tourism, in terms of showing the world who we are, what kind of nation we are, the heart we show in sports. And it made so many great athletes, so many celebrities.
It was 21 years ago, though.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Why can't Brisbane do the same?
Things change. It's a different world.
I disagree.
Well, my thing is that the 2024 and the 2028 games, the Los Angeles and Paris both wanted 2024. Neither of them wanted 2028. They knew that the Olympics is like a black hole. Neither of them wanted it. They had like this massive big argument for months about who would do which one. Australia only got the 2032 Olympics because no one else wanted the thing.
Well, I just think
no one wanted it.
Well, it's because
is that not a sign
we can
that it's not a good
sustainably
thing?
do it, though.
But how can we do it and no one else can do it? Australia is not the most financially sound set up country in the world.
Most
so why are we
nations-
the only ones that are capable
Well, most
of doing
nations are in debt, but we can handle our debt. This is the way you handle it. I'm excited. I just like watching sport, and I think it's great.
Yeah,
and
I
think
like
it's not
watching
gonna
sport as much as
ruin
anyone.
our economy like it did to Brazil or to Rio, or when South Africa hosted the World Cup. I think we can handle it, and we've already got facilities up there too. So
yeah, but World Cup and Olympics is a different thing. I think we
building the infrastructure.
That was my first reaction. I was sitting at the dinner table, had the news on in the background. I was sitting with the family. I remember it vividly because it was only like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
And then on the news they said Australia win in the bid for the biggest sports event in the world, and I turned around and said, "Did we put a bid in for the World Cup?"
You're wrong, though. You're 100% wrong.
Because the Olympics is not.
The Olympics is. There was the team from Lesotho, or whatever it's called. There's a team from Cayman Islands. Lesotho. I can't
Where's
say it
Lesotho?
properly.
Lithuania.
know.
Do you mean Lithuania?
No, Lesotho. It's a country. There was 2 athletes.
You can't say it if you don't know where it's from. You can't Google it.
It's actually. Oh, that's right.
It's in Africa.
It's the country that's landlocked in South Africa.
Yeah, I told you. It's in Africa.
Yeah, well, I was giving you more of an idea. But you can't say that is a bigger world event. No
It
way.
is.
There's no way. There's more of the world way more involved in Olympics. It involves so many more sports.
It doesn't matter how many people are
40
involved
sports.
in it.
Well, I'd love to see the
It doesn't matter how many people are physically involved in it. It's how many
Why?
people internationally are involved in it.
Yes, and that's more. The Olympics
What's
is more.
the number one What's the number one viewed sporting event
I don't know.
It-
That's
like- all the time? It's always the World Cup final. Always the World Cup final. You go punch your numbers into Google. The number one watched sporting event is always a World Cup final. I don't care about no Super Bowl. I don't care about no NBA finals. I don't care about any Olympics.
Origin.
It's the World Cup final. It's not State of
know,
Origin at like
joking.
200,000 viewers. State of Origin is another. That's not even in the same ballpark. But seriously, I don't see why we went for it. The fact that no other country wanted it, and we still pushed
Other
so
countries
hard.
definitely wanted
No,
it.
they didn't. That's why we got it so easy. No one else wanted it because they all know that it's not worth it. 12 years from now, the Olympics is already on the way out. 12 years from now is a long way away. And Australia has just gone balls to the wall and said, you know what? We're going to bring it back to 2000. We're going to make it like Sydney. The world's going to be great again. It's going to be 32 years after Sydney.
Yeah, well, no nation probably hosts Olympics so close to each other.
Yeah,
It says first overall TV viewership for the Summer Olympics and the World Cup are on par with each other. According to blah blah blah, 3.6 billion people watched at least part of each of the 2012 and 2016 Summer Olympics. Both the 2010 and 2014 World Cups drew a TV audience of 3.2 billion people. Shove it.
For a football game. Compared to
For
the
a
Olympic-
tournament.
Yeah, for the Olympics. The Olympics has got bloody 10,000 sports. The fact that you can get more people watching a
It's
game
still
of
a bigger
football.
event. You're just making my point relevant.
How?
Because it's watched by more people. 4.4 more billion people.
So you're telling me if you had to get rid of the Olympics or the World Cup, you're sending the World Cup home?
No, I didn't say that.
Exactly.
I
So
didn't
why
say
is the
that.
Olympics better?
No, I didn't say you. That's not even the question. I can't.
It
I'm
says,
not-
do
I'm
people
not-
care about the Olympics?
They do care about the Olympics. It doesn't
Not as
mean
much
they-
as anything else.
But it doesn't. But that's not the question. It doesn't mean. He didn't say, do people care about the Olympics compared to the World Cup?
Not really.
No, they
No,
said,
I'm just
do
making
people
an
care
argument.
about the Olympics? But
Not really.
they do.
Not really.
They do. Why are 3.6
It's not
billion people
it's not
watching it?
ingrained in the new generation like it is with the older ones. Even the older ones don't care anymore.
Do you think it's not a big part
Like
of
they-
Australian culture anymore?
I don't. It's a dying part of Australian culture. I don't think it's as big as it used to be. 100%.
disagree.
Though you've seen the bloody Woolworths things with their Olympic stickers and whatnot.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So who are they targeted at? All of those toys
Everyone.
and things. Who are they targeted at?
Everyone.
They're
Kids.
targeted at kids.
Yeah,
Do
great.
you know what? They float. You work in childcare. I work in after school care as well.
Yeah.
Those things float around everywhere because no one wants the bloody things. We get like 50 of them a week. They sit in the office because no one gives a stuff. None of those kids care.
Of course
They don't care about the
That's why
Olympics.
you're targeting that
It's not a
audience.
part of culture anymore. It's a dying contest. It's a dying part of the sporting world that will not have a place in the years to come.
You look on news.com right now, and there will be what's the biggest Australian news website? I don't even know. But
News Corp.
News Corp. There will be mostly dominated by Olympic
Well,
news.
of course it will, because it's the only thing happening right now.
Well, why?
But what else is going to be in the news? That's
I don't
irrelevant.
know.
There's nothing else happening. Of course the news is going to be about the Olympics.
Because it's still important.
Because it's the only thing on. What, they're going to talk about how the Tigers lost to Manly last night? No one cares.
Well, is that still ingrained in Australian culture? Because people don't care about it as much as the AFL. So if people don't care about the NRL as much as the AFL isn't cared about. That's exactly the argument you're making.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is, because you're saying that no one cares about the Olympics because in comparison to the World Cup, it's not very important.
I'm just saying that how can a World Cup, which is one sporting event, be as big as the Olympics, which has, like 60 sports?
Doesn't matter, it's still big.
Because it's not 60 sports. Average that out, that's like 100,000 people give us stuff per sport. Which is not many.
We sat on the couch today before we had this conversation. One of our mates said to Kyle, "Are you going to blast the Olympics today?"
And I said, "Shit, yeah."
And we have. But we've gone a bit over time. I'll continue this argument off camera.
This is going to go...
Have trade blows. I'll fight him to the death on this one. I'm going to go watch some Olympics. Kyle's going to go cry at home because he lost the argument.
I'm not going to cry. I'm going to go play golf.
Are you playing golf?
Yeah, I'm going to play golf.
Oh, where's my invite?
Well, stuff ya. You like the Olympics. Go play it at the Olympics if it's so good. I'll go play it for fun.
2032,
Try and
baby.
taint my
Josh
special
Freeman
game.
for the World Cup of golf. We'll be there. Alright. Let's
Thanks for
finish up.
listening, everybody.
See you next week.
Peelers out.
Oh, what a shot from Curry! Leon Barry, you star! Guerra! Here's the big fella, gets the pass on. Coin goes for the corner. Oh yeah! What about that one?
Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.